MashaAllah, Dr. Aisha, you are feeling better. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, I'm feeling better. Alhamdulillah. All right, everybody. So, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim and Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So, we will be continuing, inshallah, with what we were doing in regards to the different dhikr that we were doing. Of course, yesterday we actually went into the details of doing the dhikr one after leaving the home, starting our wudu, finishing wudu, and right now we're actually at this part, الذكر عند الخروج من المنزل. So think of it as kind of like a chronology. You wake up, well, we said that he made us wear our clothes before we would go to the bathroom, but that's all right. Okay, now we're going into making the dhikr after, well, wait a minute. No, yeah, leaving the house. Okay, so let's see. Bismillah, tawakkaltu ala Allah, wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Okay, so Bismillah, tawakkaltu ala Allah, wa la hawla ولا قوة إلا بالله. I want you to look at this one. So, Bismillah, when the person is leaving, of course, remembering connecting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because they're taking that moment to remember that it was really by the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that they're actually capable of exiting the house. But of course, they're going to be on a mission. They're going to have a lot to work on. That's why they left the house. And that's why they would connect to tawakkaltu ala Allah. I seek refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is important to mention because during our times, because I would say that influences from Eastern religions replacing Christianity in the West, it's always focusing on believing in yourself. But no, the Muslim believes in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and not necessarily the whole idea of believing in yourself. I know that in the Western, at least, interpretation of believing in yourself is not like the Eastern religions. But of course, the Eastern religions, they would really consider that it's an all, the whole energy is within you. So that's why they would do the martial arts. It's all about making a strong focus in yourself and that you yourself contain all the matter, and therefore you would have the ability to change the energy and create the energy in the world. That's definitely kufr. And that's why they would focus on this positive energy, negative energy idea. That's from the Eastern religions and not necessarily an Islamic wording whatsoever. So the whole idea of negative energy, positive energy, it doesn't mean the metaphorical piece of it that, to, I guess, see things in a positive way is un-Islamic. No, it is actually part of Islam that you're always supposed to be optimistic. The Prophet ﷺ had said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala likes al-fa'lul hasan. In other words, to have optimism and not necessarily be pessimistic. Okay, but when you say Bismillah tawakkaltu ala Allah, you're taking in, I guess, that shift to shift from you focusing on your energy or your powers in yourself to seeing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as the main place that you would depend on to give you the power to start, whether you're on a mission, success, or whatever it is that you're doing, you're basically depending on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's where tawakkaltu ala Allah comes in. ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. Just give me a second. ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله basically takes us into redirecting our focus that there is no power, there is no force, there is no, let's say, okay, there is no power beyond Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's power, so therefore a Muslim considers and also embraces that any power that they might engage in or any force that they might invest in, that it's actually coming from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So no power goes beyond the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No force goes beyond the force of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's why a Muslim considers tawakkaltu ala Allah. I depend on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. No force beyond Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allahumma إني أعوذ بك أن أضل أو أضل أو أزل أو أزل أو أظلم أو أظلم أو أجهل أو يجهل علي. This is one of my favorite dua. Okay. Oh Allah, I take refuge with you lest I should stray or be led astray, slip or be stripped, oppress or be oppressed, or behave foolishly, or be treated foolishly. I'm not sure the translation is giving it the wording that really this dua contains. Let's break it down. Allahumma inni a'udhu bika an adilla aw udal. So you could see an adilla, Ya Allah, I seek refuge in you from me going astray, aw udal, or me letting others go astray. This one is adil. No, adil is me going astray. Udal, others getting me astray. Okay, so I seek refuge in you from me going astray or others influencing me to go astray. So you're seeking refuge from any type of an influence, whether you investing in going the wrong direction or whether others influencing you to go into the wrong direction. أو أزل أو أزل. Izalla is slipping, but what are we slipping into? You're slipping into probably the wrong behavior, probably in a sin, or probably in something that is illicit, or just different things that you shouldn't be doing. Izalla is usually the beginning of a sin and not necessarily the complete sin. Okay, so it's usually the beginning of a sin. Al-dalal is when a person is completely going astray in their vision or probably in their behavior. In other words, they completely went the wrong path. But no, we're seeking refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala not only in complete delusion or in complete let's say wronghood, but we're also making the dhikr and asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us even if it's the beginning of wronghood. And azilla aw uzal aw adlima aw udlam aw adlima aw udlam. What is aw adlim? Aw adlim meaning that I seek refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of course, and adlim for me to oppress others. أو أظلم, or others oppressing me. So definitely do not wish that you would be oppressed. Do not wish that you would be oppressed or even oppressing others. Wish for always that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would give you justice and make you a person that supports justice as well. أو أجهل أو يجهل علي. أو أجهل, that I would basically act foolishly. What is al-jahl? Al-jahl is any form of a behavior that the person might consider that consider that they are the ones to basically be the center. So in other words, it's a type of arrogance. And you're not acting based on principle, but you're acting based on, I guess, benefit. That's al-jahl. Al-jahl is when a person considers favoritism. In other words, they're considering their own favors on top of other people's favors. They're considering their interests on top of other people's interests. In other words, what are we looking at here? You're looking at one, loss in vision. We're speaking about loss in vision, meaning a person losing their place of focus in regarding what is right and what is wrong. That's adalla udal. This is loss in behavior. A person, azilla أو uzal, is more loss in behavior. An adlima أو udlam is basically a loss in the person's heart. The person's heart, where the person is oppressing others, they lost emotions, they lost empathy. And ajhala أو yujhala عليه is when a person lost, or when a person loses their mind. In other words, they had basically practiced self-interest, and they lost their ability to recognize what is right and what is wrong. So I want you to look at this one. This is quite interesting. So we're looking at adilla udal. That's when a person's spirituality is losing its focus, and azilla أو uzal, that's basically the behavior itself losing this place of direction. And adlima أو udlam, that's basically when the heart is losing its place of direction. And ajhala أو yujhala عليه, that's when the mind is losing its place of direction. So what we're making dua here in is we're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us a place of direction in our spirit, a place of direction in our behavior, a place of direction in our heart, and a place of direction in our mind. So the implication, if such things were basically influenced to getting into the misdirection, that would basically mean dalal or zal or dhulm or al-jahl. Okay, so what are we doing here? We're making a dua that is very comprehensive in making sure that our mind, body, heart, and spirit is all basically acting in the principles of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's that dua. That's a very comprehensive dua. And it's not only comprehensive in telling you how to see things, but it's also comprehensive that you're asking that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would also channel all of those areas, your body, mind, heart, and certainly your spirit, to be going towards the principles of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in commitment, in consistency as well. Okay, الذكر عند دخول المنزل. Now, of course, we're making the dua before leaving the house. Well, we're going to be also entering the house. Think of it as you forgot something and go back inside. بسم الله ولجنا وبسم الله خرجنا وعلى ربنا توكلنا ثم ليسلم على أهله. Okay, what does that mean? So, in the name of Allah we enter, in the name of Allah we leave, and upon our Lord we place our trust. And then one should greet the family with salam. Okay, so Bismillah walajna. So when you enter, you say walajna. Walaja shay means to enter. Okay, so in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we enter our home, we leave our home by the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we depend on the Lord Almighty. And then ثُمَّ لِيُسَلِّمْ عَلَى أَهْلِهِ. And of course, this is not part of the dua. This is basically an instruction. Okay, this would be the dua. Bismillah walajna wa bismillah kharajna wa ala rabbina tawakkalna. This would be the dua. This would be the instruction of what you should be doing. Then say, Salamu alaikum, everybody. How are you doing? How's everybody? Check on their health, see what's going on, do this observation. And of course, making sure that everything is basically in the way that it probably needs to be in. If not, well, then you probably have to intervene to make sure that if it's requiring perhaps emotional support, you're there to give emotional support. If it requires instruction as you as a mother giving instruction, well, then that's what you have to do. So it depends on whose home this is and what you have to be doing. Okay, let's look at Bismillahi walajna. In the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we enter. In the name of Allah, we exit. And we depend on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Well, wait a minute. I thought we said we depend on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when we left the home. Why are we saying it again? because you're reminding yourself whether when you exit the home or whether when you enter the home, there's always a mission to carry. So you basically say, I depend on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help me engage and basically implement the mission that I'm supposed to be doing. Now we go to my favorite dua. اللهم اجعل في قلبي نورا وفي لساني نورا وفي سمعي نورا وفي بصري نورا ومن فوقي نورا ومن تحتي نورا وعن يميني نورا وعن شمالي نورا ومن أمامي نورا ومن خلفي نورا واجعل في نفسي نورا وأعظم لي نورا وعظم لي نورا واجعل لي نورا واجعلني نورا اللهم أعطني نورا واجعل في عصبي نورا وفي لحمي نورا وفي دمي نورا وفي شعري نورا وفي بشري نورا اللهم اجعل لي نورا في قبري ونورا في عظامي وزدني نورا وزدني نورا وزدني نورا وهب لي نورا. Of course, the word nur, 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 you heard it so many times, right? Let's just look at it. So what does it mean anyways? Oh Allah, place within my heart light. Isn't it supposed to be place light within my heart? Okay. And upon my, and tongue upon, no, and light upon my tongue. And within my ears light. Isn't it supposed to be proper English and light within my ears? Okay. And within or light within my eyes, and place light above me and beneath me, make there or shall or make light, and on my right make light, and on my well, right on my left, and light on in the front of me, and light behind me, and place light within my soul, and augment light for me, and greaten light for me, and grant me light and make me light. O Allah, bestow upon me light, and place light in my tendons, and light in my flesh, and light in my blood, and light in my hair, and light in my skin. O Allah, place light for me in my grave, and light in my bones, and increase me with light, and increase me with light, and increase me with light 3 times, and grant me light upon light. Love it. Love it. Okay, so let's break it down for a bit. Allahumma ja'al fi qalbi nura. Ya Allah, let there be light in my heart. To start. Because if your heart is enlightened, wait a minute, so what is light anyways? Light, you could see even in the Old Testament and the New Testament is always using light. Is that metaphorical or is that literal? Okay, same thing in the Quran, using light as the I guess the opposite of darkness. Is that metaphorical or is that literal? Okay, so it's actually both. It's light is literal, and light is also metaphorical. In other words, when there is light, when there is light to mean ilm, light to mean awareness, and light means to recognize. Okay, so when you're looking at asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give you light in your heart, one, to basically recognize darkness in order for you not to go that path. 2, you're also recognizing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in order to stay committed and close to him. 3, light to also mean ilm. Light to mean ilm. So we're speaking about if you're recognizing something, you're aware of something, that would actually mean to have the knowledge of something. Go ahead, Noura.
That reminds me in Surah Nur, the verse 35.
Right, right. مثل نوره كمشكاة. So, right. So here's one thing. Within Surah An-Nur, when you look at it, it's more literal. مثل نوره كمشكاة فيها مصباح المصباح في زجاجة الزجاجة كأنها كوكب دري. When you look at that one, you could see that even though it's making a simile in that ayah and telling us, well, the light of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is exactly like if you were to put in a flask, if you were to put this plant inside this flask and this oil, before you even put oil on it, it lightens up and its light basically fills the room before you would even lighten it. And that's basically the light of the Lord Almighty. So nothing gives the light to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but his light is actually self-light. And that's basically to compare it. So in other words, the light of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is indeed an actual literal light. How is that and what does it really mean? And same thing when you look at Prophet Musa alayhi salam, when he had asked in Surah Taha to see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told him that you would not be capable of seeing me, but then he wanted to see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells him, well, look towards the mountain. He looks towards the mountain, but then falls in a coma. Did he actually see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? There's a debate between scholars. Did he actually see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or did he just fall in a coma from the major and the magnificent light of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? خَرَّ مُوسَى صَعِقًا. Musa just fell in a coma and he couldn't actually see anything. Why couldn't he see anything, or did he see something? So our own physical body is not capable of handling or even being able to fathom the light of the Lord Almighty, because our own body, our own body is limited in its abilities. The light of the Lord Almighty is beyond what we could see. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us just an idea of what this actually means. Okay, so when you're looking on Judgment Day, the situation is going to be different, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to replace our bodies with different capacities, and certainly our bodies will function differently. So on Judgment Day, for the Salihin, for those that are in Jannah, they would find no better blessing, no better ni'mah and entertainment and more beautiful to them than seeing the face of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That to them is even more beautiful than Jannah itself. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had mentioned as one of the punishments, nasallahu al-afwa al-afiyah, is that certain people are prevented from seeing the face of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nasallahu al-afwa al-afiyah. So, Allahumma ja'al fi qalbi noora. Ya Allah, let there be light in my heart, whether it's ilm, whether it's commitment, whether it's awareness, or whether it's actual light that brings that awareness for you to tell the difference between lightness or light and darkness. وَفِي لِسَانِي نُورًا. Now, when you look at the word the qalb, that actually takes us into, in this hadith, you could see that the main center that basically gives you that recognition is the heart, and then the heart would radiate, of course, on the different parts of the body. Whether one, it's the tongue. So let there be light in my heart. And this is extremely important, because what is in your heart is going to radiate on the type of words that you would say. That's why if a person's heart is basically contaminated, you're going to see that they're probably using words of profanity, words of illicit words, words of hatred, words of all those different kinds of words. That's because their heart is filled with the wrong things. If the heart is contaminated, the tongue is baridul qalb. The tongue, al-lisanu baridul qalb. Al-lisan, they used to say, is basically the postage, kind of the postage for the heart. You would say, well, whatever is in the heart, you would basically the stamp and what the tongue is going to reveal is basically what is filled within the heart. The tongue speaks of what's inside the heart. So وَفِي لِسَانِي نُورًا, and make my tongue also speak. And this is a metaphor right there. So it's not that you're opening your mouth and you're seeing that your mouth is basically containing light, and that would be really spooky. But this is actually speaking of metaphorically that you're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make your tongue speak of light, speak of awareness, speak of commitment to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, speak of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's principles, speak of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had guided you to speak in. وَفِي سَمْعِي نُورًا, and in my ears let there be light. Again, this is not literal, this is metaphorical. So we're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make in our hearing there be light. What is that meaning? Well, what is going to be affecting your heart is also one, it's basically what you had been listening to. So let there be light in my hearing, light in my sight, and above me light. I want you to focus on these two: the light in my hearing and the light in my sight. The light in my sight where you're only seeing what is right. In other words, what's affecting the heart is one, what your tongue produces and what your tongue says. Two, what you're listening to. Three, what your eyes are looking at. And that's basically going to be affecting the heart. Okay. And at the same time, what is in your heart is going to be basically radiating on the tongue, going to be radiating on what you want to listen to, and going to be radiating on what you want to see. So they're all going together. It's kind of like a circle. وَمِن فَوْقِي نُورًا, and let there be light from above me. Light from above me. In other words, you yourself, and I want you to look at this one when you're talking about light from above me. Are we talking about the space that we're occupying here? That there's this space that I'm occupying, or are we talking about literally that there's light right above me to give me protection? Or is it literally light, or is it that the space that I'm occupying is a space of light? A space of light, whether that's in a masjid, or whether my home, whether it's in the above, or whether it's underneath, or whether it's on the right side, or whether it's on the left side, or whether it's in front of me, or whether it's in behind me, all of that there would be light. So what is that? We're talking about all the dimensions that basically would surrounding you. Are you basically in a place? Is this speaking about a place, or is this talking about you physically? That there's light from above you, light from underneath you, light from the right, right from the left, light from the left, right from in front of you, right from behind you. So we're talking about all the different I guess areas, or the whole thing, the dimensions that basically would surround you in all surrounding you, all over the places that you're in. Or is this talking about you physically? Okay, so whether it's talking about you physically having light that surrounds you all that way, or whether this is speaking about you occupying a place where there's light from above, light from right, left, and of course behind you and in front of you and even underneath you, you're basically occupying a place that has the light. So it can actually go in all directions. You're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to fill you with light. So here, this is talking about you yourself. This is talking about the space you're occupying. And then now it's talking about the physical part. Let's kind of break that down, right? Let's see, right there. Let's see if we can draw this. So this is talking about right on the inside, and what of course affects your heart and affects what your heart affects. Okay, and then min fawqi nura, this is talking about the space you're occupying. Okay, all the way up to here, this is the space. Okay, waj'al fi nafsi nura, and let there be within me light, and in my bones that there be light. Wa'adhim li nura, and increase light in me, and make their light be for me, and make me light, and give me light, and make there be light in my nerves, basically. What did they actually translate? I think it was a different word that they used. So asabi is basically the nerves. And my flesh have bone, have nur and light. And in my blood there would be light. And in my hair there would be light. And even on my skin there would be light. I want you to look at this one. So now this is more physical. Okay. So we're speaking about the nafs. Our own nafs have light, and certainly the bones, and certainly you're increasing the light and making me light, and give me light, and let there be light in my nerves, my flesh, my blood, my hair, and my skin. All of that have light. So now we're speaking about, okay, let's break this down. So this is the heart, okay? And this is what I occupy. And this is what my body contains, basically, or the flesh. So heart, body, and the place that you're in, or actually, well, this is body as well. Okay. Be really interesting to just break it down. Why in this order? Why the asab and the lahm not coming after for you or before? So just seeing all of that is quite interesting. Allahumma ja'al li nura. When you look at Allahumma ja'al li nura, that's definitely a hadith that is basically a different hadith. Allahumma ja'al li nura, nuran fi qabri. Sorry. Allahumma ja'al li nuran fi qabri. Ya Allah, let there be light in my grave. Wa nuran fi idami. And light in my bones. Light in my bones. And we're talking about the skeleton here, I guess. That's a way to look at it. So if we're talking about the light in the grave and the light in the bones, so if we were to open up a grave, are we going to really see light? No, this is not seeing physical light. Just like if a person is a salih person, it's not like you're going to see some kind of a light on top of them looking like angels. Okay, this isn't what this is talking about. Okay, but this is actually a light that you yourself may not see, but it's light that the angels would see, light that would basically be an inspiration of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, you wouldn't be, but on Judgment Day, the story is different, because on Judgment Day, we would basically be in stations. Okay, there's a station on Judgment Day where everything would be pitch black. Everything would be pitch black, and that's where in Surah Al-Hadid, the munafiqeen would say, انظرونا نقتبس من نوركم قيل ارجعوا وراءكم فالتمسوا نورا فضرب بينهم بسور له باب باطنه فيه الرحمة وظاهره من قبله العذاب. So when things get pitch black, the munafiqeen, there's light in the salihin, and then the munafiqeen are basically telling him, hey, look, your light is reflecting upon us. And that's when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, well, for that, basically you thinking that the light is reflecting on you and that you deserve it, well, now you're going to be held accountable, and what you're going to be facing now is that you're going to be separated away from the salihin, and you would not even get the radiance even reflecting on you anymore from the salihin. So that's when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts a wall in between them. But the wall, if you were to put a wall, the wall is going to basically be a wall to the other party as well, which is the salihin. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, بَاطِنُهُ فِيهِ الرَّحْمَةِ. But the salihin side, they would see only mercy on this wall. But the munafiqeen on their end of the wall, even though it's the same wall, they would only see adhab. They would only see that it's giving them anxiety. So when you look at on Judgment Day, okay, this nur would actually turn physical, meaning that this nur would really be kind of like a torch to lighten and enlighten their way to get to Jannah. Now, on Judgment Day, there are different stations. So in certain stations, the different good deeds that a person had done, it basically turns into velocity, speed. And then that good deed that they had presented, the velocity, or let's say the momentum in it, the good amount of good deeds that they had contributed in this dunya, it basically on Judgment Day, in certain stations, it turns into light. In certain stations, it turns into power to cross the bridge, for example. There goes the velocity, to cross it as swiftly as possible. Okay, and in certain stations, it basically turns into perhaps body size. In other times, it probably gives them less maybe body discharge of sweat. So in other words, is it getting them hydrated, or what really happens? It's a completely different, it's not that they're getting hydrated as in this dunya, but it's basically not getting them to suffer in drowning in sweat. Okay, so it depends on which station you're talking about, but what is important relating to this dua is that on Judgment Day, this would be on Judgment Day, as is this right here from, let's look at this dua, okay? Maybe we could change the color for a little bit, okay? Is this Allahumma ja'al fi qalbi nura? Is this speaking about dunya? You're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give you in this dunya light in your heart, light in your tongue, light in your ears, and light in your in your eyes, for example, for you to see what's right and as right and what's wrong as wrong. And is this on Judgment Day, that there would be nur on Judgment Day in front of you, behind you, all around you, basically surrounding you in all those corners? And is this basically in al-barzakh, اجعل في نفسي نورا, or at least in right there, أعطيني نورا, or اجعل في عصبي نورا, at least from here, in al-barzakh, عصبي, there's no nerve anymore. Okay, so is this in al-barzakh, meaning that station after the person dies? So what about اجعل في نفسي نورا وفي وعظم لي نورا وعظم لي نورا? Is this basically in dunya, trying to apply it? Okay, so it doesn't actually have one interpretation, okay? But you can dig deep down and analyze, where is this really taking us? Okay, so is this on Judgment Day? Is this in dunya? Wallahu a'lam, the preponderant is that this is in dunya and on Judgment Day and in al-barzakh. Okay, so in dunya, on Judgment Day, and in al-barzakh as well, all of it. In other words, we're speaking about all the different stations of our creation, of our resurrection, and certainly the hereafter. وَزِدْنِي نُورًا, and increase nura, and increase nura, وَهَبْ لِي نُورًا, and grant me nura. So this is basically it, because my kids just came home. So subhanakallahumma bihamdik, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk, nashhadu an la ilaha illa ant. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them really quick.
So is this dua from the ma'thurat? So that we have?
Is. Yep, it sure is. That's why they basically, well, he basically put it for you in Hisn Muslim. And you could see number 2 right there, told you that's in Bukhari and Muslim. So this hadith is actually authentic, or at least this dua is authentic.
So as much as we keep saying the dua, so we keep going to the masjid, going and coming and making this dua, inshallah, at the time of barzakh, it will,
Radiant. Yes, absolutely. But here's one thing. Can I actually make this dua at other times? So here it is. I'm just sitting home and I just wanted to make this dua in this dhikr. The answer is yes. You don't have to only make it while you're going to the masjid. So while going to the masjid, that's basically that's basically one place that you can make the dua in, but that's not exclusive to that alone. Okay? So just keep that one in mind. You could make this dua just, hey, I feel like saying this dua. Okay, and you can make this dua, and it's not exclusive when you're going to the masjid, but the Prophet ﷺ taught us to be consistent in making this dua while going to the masjid. Okay,
But
so,
okay, yeah,
okay.
so I did see people that I did see nur on their face. Sometimes, yeah,
I agree with you. I had actually seen that before, and it's, you know, and I don't know how to explain it. I don't know how to explain it, but I agree with you. There were times where I was capable of seeing real light on people's faces, but it's kind of surprising when other people couldn't actually see it. So, uh,
Mm.
I don't know how to explain it.
I
Like
mean,
I
when
was,
you look at like the faces of the Yahud, you can see darkness in their face, yeah. But when you look at a believer's face, you can see the nur
okay,
from Allah.
even though you would know believers' face, but even in believers, no, I like Muslims, I would see Muslims, but sometimes you can see a Muslim, yeah, and you can see the same person, but in a certain day, you would see that there's nur in her face, like today. But I saw her a different day, I didn't see that nur. You understand? This is what I'm meaning.
right,
This is
she
what
Yeah.
I'm
could have
saying.
done a certain dhikr on that day,
Yeah,
or probably, you know, because
yeah,
ma'siyah has a dhulma and a dhulma fil wajh. And of course,
Mm.
good days, they would have a diya fil wajh. They would have a light
yeah.
on them. You know, that actually reminds me, a man came to Uthman bin Affan, and Uthman bin Affan says, I see zina in your eyes. But the
Ya
man was
Allah.
bewildered. He said, is there a wahi after the Prophet? And he said, no, but a mu'min sees in the light of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
SubhanAllah.
So a mu'min sees in the light of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's, you know, it's part of ghaib. I mean, why was, let's say,
فراسة.
Farasa is different because Farasa is completely different because Farasa is more anecdotal, it's more data, and it's more experience that you're capable of seeing through things. Farasa is not religious related. It's more related to experience, wisdom, seeing data, and knowing where this is going. So a person can be a complete atheist and actually have farasa. Okay, but there's a specific farasa for al-mu'min. But there's a specific farasa for al-mu'min. What is that farasa? So the word farasa generally means an inspiration. Okay,
حفظكم الله.
so there are two different kinds of inspirations. There's the literal inspiration that basically is coming from al-mu'min, basically coming from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala giving basically that light for them to really see beyond them. Remember, wattaqullah wa'alimkumullah. There's that type of inspiration. There's the other type of inspiration that basically is ilm, that basically comes from experience and experiment. So let's say you're looking at maybe, I don't know, scientists. So they do these different experiments on probably electricity or probably physics or whatever it is, or maybe biology, etc. And then they would find basically maybe a medication to something, or probably discover something. That's an inspiration. So there is an inspiration that is a literal inspiration that basically comes with experiment. And there's the other inspiration that comes with light from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay. So the experiment that the light that comes with experiment, this can happen to a believer and can happen to a disbeliever, because it's experiment that basically led to them having further understanding of something. Okay,
Oh,
but
yeah.
the inspiration that comes with al-wahi for the salihin, where you're capable of distinguishing something, you're capable of seeing something that others might not have seen. Okay, that's not related to experiment. That's more related to radiance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the light. That's why you would see, for example, the mu'mineen, Umar ibn al-Khattab, for example, when he tells Sariyah, Ya Sariyat al-Jabal al-Jabal. Okay, that was Umar ibn al-Khattab was in Medina, and the other Sahaba were miles and miles away, but Umar ibn al-Khattab sees that he was about to get attacked, and he says, Sariyat al-Jabal al-Jabal, you got to look that direction. And that's when basically he looks that direction, and that was what led to their victory, even though he was miles and miles away. But that was a different kind of an inspiration. There is another kind of an inspiration. The other kind of inspiration is more related to instinct. So, for example, motherly instinct, she basically feels, oh, my baby needs me, or feels that, oh, so he's probably needing something. You know, there's that, whether it's a motherly instinct, or sometimes you just feel that you have to do something, and you're like, I'm not sure why, but you go and do it, and you discover that, oh, there was somebody that actually needed your help. Where's that coming? And what many times they would call it a sixth sense, okay? Is that inspiration necessarily happening to a believer, disbeliever? What is there as, who knows? Is it a momentum in that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put in nature? Is it an energy? What can we really call it? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala basically tells us that there's so many things that function in this universe that you may not necessarily recognize. So you recognize electricity, but do you recognize, for example, other powers that are controlling the universe that you may not even recognize, or you may not even have the power to investigate, or the power to probably discover. Okay, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is letting us know that part of such power is the power of light. What light? We're not talking about the light that you would have up in your house, but we're talking about another type of light that is a light that is part of al-ghaib. Okay, so it's completely different, because the malaika are made of light. What does that light look like? It's a different kind of light. Remember, even in physics, we know that there are different kinds of rays, different kinds of light. Some light we are capable of detecting, okay, using, I don't know, baby powder for us to see, and we won't even see that light, for example, laser, until it actually hits a surface. But it doesn't mean it's not there. Okay, and you've got other lights, like the different kinds of light that you wouldn't really see, except probably a specific kind of a tool that's capable of detecting that light. So what kind of lights are there that are part of al-ghaib, okay, that are not part of, I guess, what we had managed to discover in physics? And this is part of al-ghaib light that you will probably not be capable of detecting using the different experiments in physics, or what you probably would learn about matter in motion and so forth. But this is a different kind of light. So knowing that this world is very complex, and there's so many hidden things within this world, so we basically make this dua to give us the light, whether it's physical light that we were not capable as human beings in detecting, okay, physical light, it's a specific kind of light, or whether it's a metaphorical light that basically would involve ilm, would involve inspiration, would involve commitment, would involve all of that radiance coming from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So is it metaphorical or is it physical? We can actually say it could be both, because the physical light is only not one kind, but is different kinds of light, different kinds of rays, different kinds of, we had not necessarily managed to probably discover this kind of light that has a different kind of a power that probably has the power to influence us. Remember, we've got certain light that certain rays in a certain light, it basically has the power to burn. Another kind of light has the power to see, basically the ultraviolet light has the power to see beyond what you're seeing, has the power to x-ray and look through your bones or look through this. And another kind of light that basically has the power to even see your nerves and detect the motion that your brain is probably doing and the activity that your brain is doing. What kind of light is that? All those different kinds. So is there a certain kind of light that we don't know of that has the power to alternate the way that our heart functions, our tongue functions, our ears, our eyes, and how our body functions, or how the surrounding of me functions? Is there such a light that we're not capable of detecting, but it basically has this power? Could be. So that's what we get out of this hadith, that there is some kind of a light, a physical light, that basically has this influence to alternate where your focus is at and what you're listening to and how your body is functioning. So you're making the dua as taught by the Prophet ﷺ to literally have that light, and that basically has the power to keep us, one, consistent with the principles of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, two, committed, three, aware. Okay, so we're looking at that. And at the same time, of course, to be zidni nura, increase my nur, zidni nura, zidni nura, zidni nura. So you're making it 3 times. Increase my light, increase my light, increase my light. Can I say this dua in English? You sure can say it in English. How can I break it down and actually remember all of that? Well, break it down the way we did it. If something's in your heart, then it's affecting your tongue. If it's affecting your tongue, it's affecting your eyes, your ears, and your sight. And then you're going, okay, now physically, up above you, underneath you, on your right, on your left, and in front of you, and in the back. And then now you're going to the other stage, which basically is within your nafs. It's completely different than qalb, because in qalb is heart, but in nafs, is it the soul? Is it literally the soul? What kind of nafs do we have? So we've got 4 different kinds of nafs. We've got a nafs that is the general nafs that gives you life. Okay. You've got the other kind of nafs that basically has the potential or the capacity and capacity to do what is right and to do what is wrong. Okay. And it also has the nafs that is al-amara bis-su. It's also susceptible to slipping into the wrong things. Okay. And in other words, looking for entertainment, because it's that nafs that basically controls the body. So once it feels a certain type of a dopamine or different kind of amusement or whatever it is, it basically starts wanting more of it. And then when it wants more of it, it basically is that nafs that's like, okay, I want more of this. There's that nafs. So the nafs that controls your life and that controls your body, and certainly that controls your mind as well. So nafs can go into, consider it as different pockets in your body. Okay, وَعَظِّمْ لِي نُورًا, increase, وَأَعْظِمْ لِي نُورًا, وَعَظِّمْ لِي نُورًا. أَعْظِمْ is different than عَظِّم, because أَعْظِمْ would be, you're asking that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would expand, or actually increase. This would be increase. عَظِّم would be to expand. This would be increase. This would be expand. What's the difference? So when you expand, you dig deep down. You go further. You go further down. Azim, it's like make it bigger. And azim, you're expanding it into different directions. Okay. Waj'al li nura, and make me nur. How does that happen? Waj'al li nura. It's like whatever I would put in as an investment, make sure that it is blessed. So وَاجْعَلْ لِي نُورًا, whatever I would invest in, that it would basically have that light and it would radiate to go farther and expand. وَاجْعَلْ لِي نُورًا, and make me light. Make me light. How do I become light? What happens? Man, that sounds spooky, right? Sounds like well, وَاجْعَلْنِي نُورًا, make me light. In other words, is it make me filled with light to the point that I'm radiating upon others? Okay. Or is it وَاجْعَلْنِي نُورًا on Judgment Day to basically lighten the path for me to go to Jannah? وفي okay, here, اللهم أعطني نورا, and give me نورا. And make, now we're going to the body part. Make the nerves, go into the body part, the nerves have light, the flesh have light, the blood have light, the hair have light, and the skin have light. So this is it. I hope I broke it down, and I hope I explained
Yeah,
it.
one thing you told me once, remember when your uncle died, Allah yarhamah? He everybody could see the light in him.
Right,
And when they took a picture, you said the light cannot be taken
right.
in photographs. You can't
Yep,
see the light in
that's true.
photographs.
Yep,
Only
and
people could see it with their eyes.
exactly. That's true. There were many times, they were like, "Hey, let's take up a photo of it." And I said, "You're not going to see it on photo. You could only see it if you are physically there." So if I were to tell you, "Hey, this person, we had seen light in on them while they were dying, or they're probably reading Quran, etc." You'll be capable of seeing it physically, but it would not be captured on camera. You cannot capture it on camera. This is something that I guess I had with my experience, I had actually seen it very many times, that only if you're physically there, you can see the light, but the camera does not capture it, because camera is basically is basically depending on certain things in physics. It would not be captured on camera. That's very true. You will not be capable of seeing it. Only if you're physically there will you be capable of seeing the light. That's true.
Yeah, Allahumma afina. I did see somebody that was so dark
Yallah, nas'Allah al-afwa.
when they died. So dark, even though he wasn't dark. He's not a dark person.
Yeah. Nas'Allah
Yeah.
al-afwa al-afiyah. Nas'Allah al-afwa al-afiyah. By the way, seeing somebody dark or seeing somebody with light, etc., sometimes only certain people with nur are capable of seeing it. Not everyone is capable of seeing it. So you will say, "Oh, I can see that person having light," and other people are like, "I don't know what you're talking about." So it can be something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala might actually might give it as a karama to certain people, that they're capable of seeing light in a person and darkness in a person. They're capable of seeing it. So that's something that you would be capable of seeing it as one of the karamat that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala might give the salihin, but other people they're going to be looking at you like, "What are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking."
So maybe I didn't see it then. I don't know.
Other people will be like, "We don't know what you're talking about," and they may not even see it.
I was afraid to even tell the people around me. I was
Yeah, you
afraid to
don't
say
want to tell
anything.
it. You don't want to say it. You don't want to say it.
Yeah, I was afraid to say. I was just like, I don't want to insult anybody.
Exactly. Just keep it to yourself.
Yeah. So another thing,
Yeah,
how many times do we have to keep repeating this dua? Like, because you know how far it is from here to the Aqsa. Do we have to keep repeating it, or
Right.
just once is
So
enough?
you could say it once. The sunnah is once. If you want to say it even more and more, that's absolutely fine. Because remember the word dhakara, the word dhikr actually means to repeat, to say, and to remember. So if you wanted to repeat that dhikr, you can actually do that. It doesn't have to be just once. It can be repeated.
Oh, because sometimes I like to make dua, other du'as between the adhan and the iqamah,
That's actually those times there's actually an answered dua. So definitely do some du'as between the adhan and the iqamah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inshallah, there's a dua mustajab between those times. So definitely use it to make a dua for your daughter Aisha, and of course for the other people that are present too.
Yes, inshallah. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, Dr. Jazakillah khairan, and thank you for asking those questions. It was really beneficial. Now, speaking about karama, is it
Right.
possible that what can you say about someone claiming to see something about you? It could be good or bad, and giving you warning about it. What can you say about that?
So, I mean, it depends because, yeah, I guess that's too much of a broad question. One, it can be a salih person coming to tell you, hey, I had seen that, for example, you're going to have an ibtila. You're going to have some kind of hardship, I guess, coming in these coming days. Okay. If it's a salih person, it could be an inspiration. But you want to keep in mind that shayateen also make an inspiration. Okay. So not everybody that comes to tell you, and you want to keep in mind that even the Pharaoh himself, he presented himself as a person of religion. Okay. Imposters come to you not with their actual presentation, with their actual self as being evil. They'll come to you in the garment of religiosity and piety. Okay. So even magicians, they will have the subha in their hand and, all that incense around them, and they'll appear like they're people of dhikr. But it's actually coming in with shayateen. Even a shayateen would give a certain inspiration to their followers. So it could be, hey, a person can come to you and say, hey, this is going to happen to you. For example, a magician can tell you that. A magician can tell you that to let you perhaps think that they have superpowers and therefore they're capable of seeing what you cannot see in order for you to fear them, to give them some kind of an authority, to basically think that they are salihin, when in reality they're nothing but imposters. So I'd be really careful. I'd be really careful on who I trust and who I believe, and I, don't necessarily think that that anybody that would come and tell you something that might sound mysterious or might sound as, I guess, some kind of a, what is the word that I could use? Sounding like it's supernatural or something.
Natural, yes, that
You want
kind
to
of
be
stuff, yeah.
really careful, because a lot of those imposters, they are actually shaitan in disguise, and they'll put on a garment like they're salihin, they're people of dhikr, they're people that are continuously just connected to the Quran, etc. When in reality, they're nothing but shaitan in disguise. You really want to be careful. Don't necessarily trust anybody that
So that, yeah,
would
subhanallah.
come
So
tell you.
yeah, I find it difficult to believe people saying that, but subhanallah, like, could it be me? Because sometimes when
Right.
someone say that, I find it so difficult to believe that. I'm just like, how could you see something like, I believe that if you're a Solina and you see something bad, you should have prayed for that person instead of you telling that person, like, so that's my belief. But when you're explaining about it, I'm like, okay, maybe some people can be right. No.
Right. So like I said, you really want to be careful. But at the same time, the only inspiration that we would guarantee is basically the inspiration coming from al-Wahi, that is Muhammad ibn Abdullah. To deny, that's it. Muhammad ibn Abdullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that's the only thing. So if, let's say, I guess Sister Khadija or Sister X came to me and she said, hey, this and this. If I were to deny her words and call her, or at least and say, sorry, I don't believe in what you're saying, and she was a salihah person, I don't become a kafir because I didn't believe in what she was saying.
No, I see.
Just keep that in mind. She's not a prophet. Yeah. She could be a salihah person, good for her, but that doesn't mean I have to believe in her. Yeah. I only have to believe in Muhammad ibn Abdullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Prophet and the messengers. If Khadija or if X person was a salih person, they came to me to tell me some kind of a good thing, inspiration, dream that they had dreamed of, I would rather that you would just put a question mark on it than actually believe in it and fall in deviation. I would just put a question mark. Nice, interesting to know, but don't believe in it just because somebody might actually have an appearance as a pious person, etc. So put a question mark, and remember, because right now, you know, we barely have these types of salihin people that have karamat. And this is a sign of karama. This is a type of karama. This is a type of a miraculous, supernatural thing. Okay? If it's a type of a supernatural thing, then, you know, I don't know whether this inspiration is coming from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or whether it's coming from shaitan. So what should I do?
Yeah.
Exactly. I don't know where it's coming from, but I will know one thing, is that the only inspiration that I have to believe in is the prophets. All other inspirations, if I were to be suspicious of it, it doesn't get me out of the fold of Islam, and it doesn't hold me accountable either. I'd rather be suspicious and put things in scrutiny than be a person that is easily deviated or that is easily manipulated by others. I'd rather put them in place of scrutiny than actually put my iman at risk.
That's powerful, mashallah. Yeah. Yes.
Simple as
That
that.
was powerful. Yeah.
So, subhanakallah wa bihamdik,
Jazakallah khair.
wa iyyakum. So we'll see you all tomorrow, inshallah.